Let's look at the big picture first. The global creator economy is today valued at more than $250 billion, and according to industry projections, that number is expected to keep growing, with some estimates putting it above $500 billion within the next decade. Millions of people now call themselves a content creator, but that number covers wildly different business models, from a solo creator filming on a phone in their bedroom, all the way to full production studios with editors, managers, and full-time staff. Each one carries a completely different economic reality, and that difference runs far deeper than it appears from the outside. The most common misconception is that YouTube revenue is simply ad money. Most people, when they look at a channel, see only the view count and run a mental calculation. 1 million people watch this video, so the creator must have made a lot of money. This has even become a kind of internet myth, with oversimplified, inaccurate formulas like 1 million views equals about $1,000 circulating widely. In reality, the revenue model of a serious channel rests on several separate layers, and most beginners only ever see or understand the smallest one. The first layer is advertising revenue, generated through the YouTube Partner Program. This is paid based on a metric called RPM, revenue per Malay, meaning revenue per 1,000 views. Depending on the niche, RPM can range from as low as 50 cents for entertainment or general vlog content, up to $25 or more for finance, business, or software-related content. That means the exact same 1 million views can generate anywhere from $500 to $25,000, purely depending on the topic. That is up to a 50 times difference on the same platform with the same number of viewers. The reason is simple. Advertisers are not buying RPM. They are buying the viewer. A viewer watching financial content typically has higher income and is a far more valuable target for banks, insurance companies, or investment firms. A viewer watching children's entertainment content, by contrast, is considered far less valuable by the advertising industry, because that viewer has little to no direct purchasing power. Video length also directly affects RPM, because longer videos allow for more ad placements. Videos longer than 8 or 9 minutes qualify for multiple ad breaks, which means significantly higher total revenue at the same view count. The second layer is brand sponsorships. This is often the single largest revenue source for mid-sized and large channels, frequently generating more income than advertising itself. A channel with 500,000 subscribers can often charge somewhere between $3,000 and $15,000 for a single dedicated sponsored segment, depending on niche and audience engagement. For channels with more than 1 million subscribers, this figure can climb to $20,000, even $50,000, especially in technology, business, or finance niches. Sponsorships themselves come in several forms. A short mention at the start of a video, a more detailed mid-roll integration, an entire video built around the sponsor, or long-term ambassador deals, where a creator promotes the same brand consistently over several months. Long-term deals tend to produce far more stable income than one-off sponsorships, but securing them requires a much higher level of trust and negotiating experience. But sponsorship income is not stable. It depends entirely on the sponsor's own budget, marketing strategy, and personal relationship with the creator. A sponsor might allocate a large budget this year and shift to an entirely different marketing strategy next year, ending the partnership altogether. During economic downturns, companies typically cut marketing budgets first, which makes sponsorship revenue an especially fragile layer for creators. This is a risk factor entirely outside the creator's control. The third layer is memberships and fan funding, channel memberships, Patreon-style subscriptions, and one-time tips. This tends to be a smaller layer numerically, but it is the most stable, since it does not depend on the algorithm showing the video to new viewers. A loyal audience keeps paying the same amount every month, even in a month when nothing goes viral. This is the piece of the content creation industry that most closely resembles the recurring subscription revenue of an alarm monitoring business. Predictable, monthly, recurring income. The power of this layer lies in its predictability. A channel with 5,000 paying members, each paying $5 a month, generates $25,000 in stable revenue, a figure that barely moves even if no new video is uploaded that month. This stability gives the creator a financial cushion that can absorb swings in the other, less predictable revenue layers. The fourth layer is product-based revenue, merchandise, digital products, or online courses. This is where the highest margins usually live, because the creator is selling something they fully own, rather than splitting revenue with a platform or a sponsor. An online course, for example, once created, can be sold repeatedly at almost zero additional cost, making it one of the highest margin activities in this industry. Physical merchandise, on the other hand, requires production, inventory, and shipping costs, which lowers its margin compared to digital products, though it still typically outperforms platform advertising. Some large creators eventually build an entirely separate brand, a coffee company, a clothing line, or a software product, using the content channel essentially as a marketing engine for that brand. In this model, video content is no longer the primary revenue source. It becomes the funnel that leads to the primary revenue source. Here is the industry's most important rule. View count is not revenue. It is only the input into a formula that depends heavily on niche, audience location, and how well diversified those four layers are. A channel with 10 million views in a low RPM niche can earn less than a channel with 200,000 views in a high RPM niche. This is the most widely misunderstood truth in the industry, because from the outside, only the view count is visible, while the underlying revenue dynamics are entirely different. Let's make the numbers real. Say a channel gets 10 million views in a month, in a general entertainment niche with an RPM of $2. That is $20,000 in ad revenue alone. That sounds impressive. But from this, beyond the platform's cut, which is already factored into that RPM figure, the creator still needs to subtract editing costs, equipment costs, and, if applicable, salaries for a small production team. Once those costs are subtracted, real net profit can drop to less than half of that initial number. For comparison, consider a much smaller channel in the same month, 100,000 views, but operating in the software or finance niche with an RPM of $15. That channel, with 10 times fewer views, earns just $1,500 from this layer alone, far below the first channel's ad revenue. But if that smaller channel has also built a sponsorship deal, a course, and a membership program, its total monthly income can actually surpass the 10 million view channel. This is the hardest concept in this industry to grasp, and also the most important one. A rarely discussed part of this industry is how expensive it actually is to produce a single video at a professional level. Camera and lighting equipment for a serious setup can run $3,000 to $15,000 as a one-time cost. A quality microphone and audio setup adds another few hundred to over $1,000. Editing software subscriptions run $50 to $200 a month. Studio or office rent, if the creator isn't working from home, adds further monthly cost. Music licensing, stock footage services, and graphic design tools are smaller but recurring expenses. Some creators even pay for annual conferences, filming trips, or rental of specific filming locations, adding further strain to the budget. And frequently, for channels producing frequent, high-quality content, hiring a professional video editor can cost anywhere from $500 to $5,000 per video, depending on complexity and editing style. In larger channels, a full team forms, with separate roles for researcher, scriptwriter, editor, thumbnail designer, social media manager, and sometimes even an executive producer, which can push monthly costs into the tens of thousands of dollars. Some large channels employ teams of 15 to 20 people, making them, at that point, not a solo endeavor at all, but a full media company. This creates two major consequences. First, the one-person, one-laptop version of this business barely resembles the version that actually generates significant income. Second, as a channel scales, editing and production costs scale directly with output. There is no way to automate this the way a subscription software company can automate its product. The content itself relies on human creativity and human labor, which makes it, much like the security company we covered in an earlier video, an industry fundamentally driven by human labor cost. Growth in this industry typically begins the moment a video goes viral, but the underlying investment happened weeks or months earlier. Research, scripting, filming, and editing all have to be paid for before a single dollar of ad revenue or sponsorship money arrives. To bridge that gap, many creators work a separate job for 1 to 3 years before content creation becomes financially viable on its own.
Some studies suggest that more than 90% of people who start a channel stop before ever reaching even a minimal income threshold. That figure is even higher than typical small business failure statistics because entry into this industry requires almost zero financial barrier, which means a very large number of people enter with little preparation or strategy. Algorithm dependency is this industry's hidden version of the lease risk seen in a coffee shop, or the permit risk seen in a food truck. A video's performance is decided by an opaque recommendation system that can change without warning. A creator earning $8,000 one month from a viral video can earn $600 the next month, from a video of similar quality that simply was not pushed to as many viewers. Income in this industry is inherently unpredictable, month to month, in a way that few traditional businesses experience. Adding to this uncertainty, the platform itself may, from time to time, begin favoring an entirely different content format, shifting from long form to short form, or the reverse. Changes like this can render years of built-up strategy outdated within just a few months, forcing creators to adapt all over again. Short-form videos carry an entirely different revenue structure compared to traditional long-form content, typically with far lower RPM, but potentially wider, faster reach. This forces creators into difficult strategic decisions about how much time and resources to allocate to each format. To see the reality behind the numbers, let's walk through a bad month. A key video underperforms because of an algorithm shift, cutting monthly views in half. In that same month, a sponsor cancels a planned deal because of a shift in their own marketing budget. On top of that, a hired editor requests a rate increase or leaves entirely, forcing an urgent, costly replacement search. An unfounded copyright strike hits one of the videos, temporarily stripping it of monetization until the dispute process resolves. Sometimes, even a platform policy change reclassifies a previously normal content type as not advertiser friendly, sharply cutting that content type's earning potential. None of this is individually catastrophic, but together it can wipe out an entire month's income and even eat into savings built up during better months. Regional and niche variation plays a much larger role in this industry than most people expect. A finance or software channel based in the United States, with an audience mostly in the United States, Canada, or Western Europe, commands a dramatically higher RPM than an entertainment channel with an audience concentrated in regions with lower advertising rates. This means two channels with an identical number of subscribers and nearly identical view counts can generate completely different income, purely based on where their audience lives and what topic they cover. Beyond that, language plays a major role. A channel producing content in English potentially gains access to advertisers worldwide, while a channel operating in a smaller language market is automatically confined to a smaller advertising auction, which typically results in lower RPM figures. This means creators working in smaller language markets face a structurally lower earning ceiling, even when producing content of equal quality, which pushes them to adopt sponsorships and product sales much earlier than their English language counterparts. Seasonal demand also exists across niches. Some niches, like tax or financial advice content, see sharp spikes during tax season and declines the rest of the year. Travel content fluctuates with vacation seasons. This seasonal volatility makes stable, year-round income planning considerably harder. Cross-platform diversification has become, in this industry, not simply an option, but a survival strategy. Smart creators no longer rely on YouTube alone. They distribute the same content or different formats of it across Instagram, TikTok, and podcast platforms. This is not just an additional revenue stream, it is also risk management. If one platform applies an algorithm change, income from other platforms can partially offset the damage. Some creators also build an email newsletter since it provides a direct connection to the audience that is not subject to any platform's algorithm at all. The business structure side of this industry is also frequently overlooked. Once a creator crosses a certain income threshold, they can no longer operate simply as an individual taxpayer. They need to form a company, hire an accountant, and get legal advice for contracts and sponsorship agreements. This is the industry's hidden administrative cost layer, one that many beginners never budget for at all. Tax planning is especially complex here because income may arrive from multiple countries in multiple currencies at different times, which makes proper accounting genuinely difficult. The biggest players in this industry, established creators with millions of subscribers and full-time teams, hold a few advantages small solo creators simply do not have: negotiating leverage for higher sponsorship rates, a large enough audience to make merchandise and course sales genuinely profitable, enough team capacity to operate across multiple platforms at once, and enough cash reserve to survive a bad month or a temporary algorithm shift without financial damage. A small solo creator operates with none of that cushion. Every single video carries real financial weight. Many large creators, instead of operating fully independently, join talent agencies known as multi-channel networks. These agencies offer centralized sponsorship negotiation, legal support, and production resources in exchange for a percentage of revenue, typically between 10 and 30%. This closely parallels the advantages that national security firms hold over small local companies, as discussed in an earlier video: scale, centralized resources, and negotiating power. But joining such an agency also means giving up part of a creator's revenue, which may not be worthwhile for large channels that already have sufficient negotiating leverage of their own. Building a team in this industry also carries its own specific economics. A small channel is usually run entirely by the creator, handling everything from scripting to editing alone. As a channel grows, the first hire is typically a video editor, since editing is the most time-consuming yet easiest task to delegate. Next, usually comes a thumbnail designer, a researcher, and a social media manager. Every member of this team creates a fixed monthly cost, even if the creator's income is not yet stable. This mirrors the same principle we saw with security companies, where the first 15 employees essentially fund the operation itself, with real profit only appearing once the channel reaches a certain scale. The tax and legal structure side deserves special attention too. When a creator earns income from multiple countries, say from YouTube in the United States, from a sponsor in Europe, and from a membership platform elsewhere, each of these income streams may be subject to different tax rules. Many new creators don't grasp this complexity until their income grows large enough to expose it, and they later find themselves facing unexpected tax obligations. Professional accounting is no longer optional at this stage. It is a necessity, and it is itself an added monthly cost. To dig even deeper into the reality behind the numbers, let's walk through a longer, difficult quarter. A creator starts the year strong, with monthly income reaching $10,000. Final comparison: two contrasting scenarios. Let's take two creators, each with 500,000 subscribers in the same niche, generating a similar number of monthly views. Optimized scenario: the creator posts consistently, has built genuine sponsorship relationships, runs a small membership community, sells a modest digital product, and distributes content across several platforms. Even during a month with a below average video, sponsorship and membership income cushion the drop. The result? A stable 5-figure monthly income, roughly $15,000 to $25,000, with income variance of only 20 to 30% month to month. Realistic scenario: the creator relies almost entirely on ad revenue, has no membership program, has never pursued sponsorships, and is focused solely on YouTube. During a strong month, income can spike impressively, reaching perhaps $12,000, but during an algorithm downturn, income can drop by 70% or more overnight, with no other revenue layer to soften the impact, sometimes falling below $3,000. The gap between these two creators, with an identical subscriber count and similar content quality, comes down almost entirely to how many revenue layers they built and how early they built them. Measured across a full year, the optimized creator ends up earning roughly $100,000 more than the realistic creator, with the exact same audience size and the exact same level of quality. Closing. Picture this for a moment. A 22-year-old in their bedroom with a cheap microphone and their phone's camera uploads their first video. For them, it starts as little more than a hobby, maybe just to make friends laugh or to share an opinion on something they care about. But a few months later, a video unexpectedly takes off, and they find themselves in the middle of a business they never actually planned for, dealing with advertisers, sponsors, and thousands of waiting viewers. This is the single most unique feature of the content creation industry. Entry requires almost no barrier at all, but consistency and real income demand an entirely different level of difficulty. Content creation looks like the ultimate low barrier, high reward business. No license required, no physical location, and a phone is enough to start. But behind that appearance lies a business with real production costs, real algorithm risk, and income volatility that few traditional industries experience. A coffee shop's core risk lives in its lease. A food truck's risk lives in its permits. A content creator's risk lives simultaneously in three places: the algorithm's mood, the sponsor's budget, and the creator's own consistency. These three risks are harder to manage than a single risk center in a traditional business because none of them are fully within the creator's control. Creators who build multiple revenue layers and treat this as a real business do not simply chase views, they build a durable, diversified income, something that can survive even if the platform itself changes completely one day. Creators who fail to do this often find that a channel with millions of views can still leave them with almost nothing to show for it, and struggle to understand why such popularity never translated into financial progress. That is the industry's real secret. Success is not measured in view count. It is measured in how many revenue layers were built and how early they were built. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe to the channel to support us.